Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Adam Rattle with Adam So Fun, and you are joining me for the December Diamond Quilt Along. Cheers everybody. Merry Christmas. It's December 20, what's today? It's December 23rd, and we're going to get this baby quilted. Today I am drinking an Empress Gin and Ginger Martini. I figured, hey, I deserve it. I deserve a drink. Today has been a rough day. Ugh, now I need water. Today just was a comedy of errors of sorts. But yes, we are so excited because we have the quilt loaded. And we're going to get to quilting this baby. A few things. I feel like I'm giving you my recipe for success in quilting this. Get your rulers ready if you're using rulers. If you're using Pro Stitcher, you don't need these. Today I'm going to be using my HQ Skinny ruler. Get one today. This is my favorite ruler. This is my favorite straight edge ruler. I like it. It fits in my hand really nice. But we do make a few, Handi Quilter makes a few straight edge rulers. So I always tell people, try them all out. Like if you're in an event, say, do you have this one? Can I try it? There's a straight edge ruler that is, I think, 3 by 12. So it's bigger. This is a 2 by 10. I feel like, personally, I have more control when I'm using this, but everybody has their own feel. So that's why, like when you're in events, or even if you go to a shop and they have some rulers, they do have these, can I try? I'm going to get one. I want to see which one feels better. Hold them in your hands. Feel what they feel, or feel how they feel. I use the Versatool to stitch my quilt down. That's how I like to stitch my quilts when I'm loading them. You can see that video in the burrito method of loading, I think, or how do I stitch down my top? I don't know. There's a video where I show how my process of stitching down the outer edges. This Versatool touches every quilt I make because I use this to help me stitch down and base my edges. I have my ditch ruler because we're going to be stitching the ditches, and I was kind of, it's something you can either do or you don't have to. I'm going to stitch the ditches, and what we're going to do, and when we get over there, is we're going to stitch the ditches on the diagonals, on the diamonds, and then we're going to go back in and stitch an echo around those diamonds as well, a 1/4 inch. So, we're going to use. I'm going to use my ditch ruler for my stitching my diamonds. I'm going to use my straight edge for that 1/4 inch echo. I'm going to be using a black light because I'm also. Ooh, that was loose. So I'm going to be using stencils on this. I created these stencils. This is preview paper, or not preview paper. This is Golden Threads paper. It's a paper you can get on a roll, and this stuff is fantastic because you can make your own stencils with it, especially when it's something linear and easy. Even if it's not, I mean, you can draw mandala on that, stitch it out. And what I did is, this one has been done already. I stitched the lines on my domestic machine, no thread. And now this is my stencil, and I'm going to be using that with the pounce pad. And you'll see this all up close and personal whenever we get onto the frame. But this is how I'm going to mark those negative space blocks. Now, the pounce is white. I use a white pounce. But when you hit it with the black light, and you turn all the other lights off, it shows up as a dark, like basically a black mark that chalk absorbs that light, and it lets you see that pounce even though I'm working on a white background. So I'll show you how that works. There's other ways you can do it. Look in the comments below. I will give you the dimensions you need these to be, but basically the large one is 3.5 by 9, and when you're going over, it's the mark between a 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch. Like I just marked the center, and that's your small point, and that's going to be the small point on both your large and your small block. It's the skinny part. So what is that? 5/16 or something. I don't know. It's if you split 1/4 and 3/8 in half. That's where we're putting this mark. So it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. So 3.5 wide, 9 inches long. This is that mark between the 1/4 and the 3/8, and down here it's 3 inches and 1/8. So 3 1/8 inch over from one side, and then that will give you the same angle that is on those blocks that we cut. Super easy. I just drew one. This is actually double layered, so I could stitch it once and then I'll have both sides because I can open this up The second one isn't marked, but I did stitch around the whole block. I also glued these together so they wouldn't move. I stitched around the whole block. So now I have the piece that would go on your right, I guess your left, and then your right. And I can use these right next to each other. I'm going to do the same thing with the little one. I haven't stitched the little one yet. For the little one, it's 3.5 by 4. And 4 is going to be your long edge. And that's the 4-inch edge is the, or the 3.5 edge is where you're going to draw your lines. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I had to look at the block. I already did this and I was like, okay, it has to be the right one. So this will mimic the smaller blocks. And the same thing, this is that mark between 1/4 and 3/8. And this down here, I think, is 1 inch and 5/8. Yeah, I want to make sure. So I just stitched, or not stitched, I marked over 1 inch and 5/8. Straight edge, connected that. And I'm going to take this one, I haven't stitched this one out. So this is still just the, it is folded, but it's just the one piece of the golden threads. No stitching. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did there. I'm going to stitch around, no thread, just to get my perforations. And now these are going to be my my templates, my, what's the word? Stencils when we go to the machine. So when I'm using those, that's what I'm doing. And the nice thing is, this is somewhat see-through. So I can line the edges of my block up with my seam. This will be here, and I'll just be able to pounce right on top of it. You do want the perforations up, although it's not going to work correctly because I stitched them next to each other. So the mirror image one, the perforations are not going to be up, and I'm just going to use it, and fingers crossed it works. We'll find out, and then I'll tell you, take them apart and draw all 4 and do it instead. Oh, now I need a drink. The Empress Gin is blue. It's so fun. And then when you add stuff acidic, it starts turning pink. So it is bluer than this, so it started turning purple, but I can actually get it kind of a bright pink if I were to add lemon juice or something. And then we're using a pounce pad. Other things, I'm stitching mine out with my favorite thread, bottom line 623 silver, and I already have bobbins wound. So I was like, ooh, let's just use that. I already have bobbins wound. So I'm not going to have to change colors. And we're going to do some of it Pro Stitcher, some of it free motion. The diamonds, I haven't decided if I'm going to use Pro Stitcher or free motion. So, I mean, at that point, I think today we're going to do the stitching the ditches and show you how I'm going to do that. And then stitching in our negative space diamonds. I think that's the most important part. And I'm looking at this. I think we should be able to, if we stitch the ditches and do those echoes, we should be able to roll the whole quilt and get all of that stitched and then roll back to the start. And then next week, we'll fill in all of the detail with the background fills in the negative space and stitching inside those diamonds. So, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how long the video is and how long it takes me to do everything. And we'll cut it whenever it starts getting long and then just add the other ones. So as always, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and hit that bell notification so you're notified when new videos drop. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Adam's So Fun with an SEW, where you see all the stuff that happens and not just the stuff that lands on YouTube. If you haven't, go back to the 6K giveaway because that's still going on for 1 more day or 2 more days. I will pick the name on December 25th at 8 p.m. Pacific. And then I'll post it on Sunday. So, all right, we're going to the machine. We'll see you back here in a second. All right, so we're here at the quilt, and it's time to stitch the ditch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work all the way across this row, tie off, come back to the start, and work all the way back. To me, I don't ever try to work from right to left if I don't have to, because I know that left to right is going to work better for me. I'm working around this camera. The things I do for you, you should see what my machine looks like right now. So I'm going to be using my ditch ruler, my HQ ditch ruler, and just stitch in the ditch. We're just going to go right along. Now, if you're doing this, you probably have followed me long enough. If I come into one of the squares, like if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. I'm okay with that. I'm stitching 10 stitches per inch, and I'm on cruise at 25 because I'm using a ruler. And you'll notice that I'm going to stop the machine, move my ruler every time. And I'm using this silver thread, so it's going to kind of match into everything. Now I have a small one. All right, so now I've got to one of my negative space blocks. I'm gonna stitch back a little bit so I can get my foot out of the way. And really, I would have already marked these, but I wanna show you how I'm gonna do that. So I have my papers, and this one's gonna be here, which means this one's gonna be here. So we can see the perforated lines. And actually, I'm doing what I hate to do. I'm cutting my thread. The things I do for you all. All right, so, all these cords hanging. If you see a cord hanging, it's just because I have everything going on. All right, so I am going to, let's move this to here-ish. I'm lining up, oh, you can't see. Maybe if I put that there, okay. The foot's going to kind of be in the way, but you'll get the gist. So I'm lining up the edges of my seam and my block that I drew with my seam. So now everything's lined up. Ooh, I want perforations up. This one's actually going to be this piece. Now, when you make yours, perforations up are going to work a lot better, and you're going to see what I'm talking about in a minute. So there's my piece. I've lined it up with my block. Okay? Now I'm getting my pounce pad, and I'm going to rub my pounce pad across that diagonal line. And when I move this, you're going to say, but nothing happened, because you can't see it. There's a little tiny line of chalk. I'm going to pounce the rest of this, and then we'll go back and I'll show you what it looks like when you hit it with the black light. The nice thing about these is that we're going to be using these points and the points on the opposite end that you can't see in the frame. We're going to be using those points as our reference points that we're going to hit. So we really just need to get the diagonal line up to here. And you're not supposed to pounce it, but I'm going to pounce it on those because this is the non-perforated one. And then we'll come onto this side. And really, we don't have to pounce the right side, because if we get the points up here, and I'll show you what I mean, and you have a ruler that's long enough, I'm going to be able to connect these 2 points without having to worry about pouncing that. If you do not have a ruler that's long enough, you'll have to pounce both sides. If your ruler is long enough, you only have to pounce one. So let's go back to the start. Let me pull up my threads. And let me show you what I mean about the black light. I went 1 stitch too far. All right, so I'm going to turn on my lights off. Turn on my UV lights. And you can't really see it here, but I'm going to turn on my HQ black light. So the Infinity has black lights built in, but then you can also buy this HQ black light. Do you see this dark line right here? That's the line that I pounced. So I'm going to position this light so it illuminates where I need to go. And I'm fighting not to get it in front of the camera. I just got it in front of the camera. And now it's on my handlebar, but whatever. So you can kind of see that kind of dark shadow right there. That's where I'm going to get my ruler, line up. Remember, we're adding that 1/4 inch and stitching. When I get to the point of that seam, so I'm on a seam, I know that's the point. And so on the right side where I'm going, I wonder if I can turn the camera. There we go. So I'm here, I need to be here. I don't have to worry, I'm gonna pop the regular lights back on so you can see. All right, so my bobbin ran out, I fixed it, and now I'm back to this point. So we're here, we need to be here. So I'm just gonna line my ruler up and stitch. Perfect. And now we're just gonna stitch the ditch around the rest of the way. And I've switched from the ditch ruler to my straight edge ruler because there's so much going on that I can't get the right angle to look at the ditch ruler. So I'm just gonna use this one. And I'll get pretty close and be happy with it. So now I'm at the end. I'll do a little tie off because I want to go start at the left side again. So we're back here and I'm just going to do the same thing. So the ditch stitching part is going to go pretty quick. And you'll notice I'll get off a little bit, like there's a few stitches up into the green right there. I don't care. I'm not worried about that. Okay, so now we're here, and I've pounced this already. I pounced it when I pounced the other one, so we're gonna switch the lights. And you can see it a little bit. And, oh, let me go this way. So there we have it. You can see it here, the dots. And I'm following the dots all the way to over here, where you can kind of see them show up a little bit. So just the same thing. It's really cool how this black light will illuminate that white chalk for you. And now I'm going to switch the lights, come back over here. Done, we're switching to the other side. So before I start this row is the only one that has all of the diamonds intact, but we still have this extra piece, and I'm going to treat this extra piece as if it were one large diamond. So I'm getting my stencils. This one would be here. And I'm just going to pounce And I'm going to slide through. And this one will go here. And we'll pounce it more than slide, even though we know we're not supposed to do that. So this side is done. Let's go do the other side. I'm doing the same thing here that I did on the other side. I just got to keep you out of my way. Ooh, that's a lot of chalk. That's why you don't pounce. Why you rub. We're going black light. Look how dark that line is. And then you have this nice pretty one up here. I can't see thread. There it is. The problem with thin thread is you can't see it. I definitely can't see that I pulled my bobbin up. There's my bobbin. There's my top thread. Okay. I can't see it, but I can feel it. Can you see my line right there? So yeah, you can see my dotted line. And we'll do lights. You could do the whole thing with the black light on. I found that it kind of hurt my eyes. I found that it kind of hurt my eyes when I tried to do that one time. Black light. I just killed a bug that was attracted to the black light. Lined it up on our pounce and go. Now I do have the UV lights on my Infinity. If you don't have an Infinity or a Fusion or an Avante, you do, or I think the Avante have them. You do not have them built in, so you can't switch. You have to get the HQ black light. If you don't have a black light, when we get to the one that has the box in the back, we'll talk about that. Because there are other options. I have to say, working around the cameras and stuff, my stitching looks horrible. We're to the far one, so I have to turn my black lights on again and get that last piece. All right, so now I have my negative space blocks. So here's the big diamond block that is our negative space. And you're not gonna be able to see it great, but you can kind of see it. If you don't have a black light, so you can't use the pounce the way I'm doing, you can mark these. You can still make your stencil and just mark this point and mark this point with whatever marking you, oh, you can't see my left hand. Mark this point and this point back here, this one. You don't have to mark these, so you just have to mark these center pieces because you have reference points here and on the other side. And you can use whatever kind of marking tool you have to be able to stitch that. I just happen to have the black light because I use it a lot. We've stitched these things. I'm going to go in and show, I'm just going to stitch an echo. I'm going to show you one because I don't think you have to watch me stitch echoes the whole rest of the thing. And then we're going to jump down to the next row because the next row has some diamonds that don't have, that are multiple blocks that have to like a small diamond and a large diamond, just so you can see how I do it, although it's the same exact thing we've been doing. But just so you can see it done once. And then I will just continue to stitch this. And this is going to be this week's assignment. Stitch your ditches, stitch your echoes. And then next week we'll fill in that negative space. So let me go back over here and stitch that echo. Try to get things out of my way. And I'm just going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So when you're working with rulers, sometimes you're a contortionist. I want a 1/4 inch echo, so I'm going to put the edge of my ruler up against that seam. Move my ruler, or move my foot to the ruler and go. When I get to this center seam, I know that I'm there, so I can just rotate over. Rotate over. And there's my echo line. So I'm going to continue to echo that up, and I will see you back here in a second. Well, you almost made me, or let me forget, for those of you who are not going to be using rulers and who are like, I'm never going to be using rulers, they're just not your thing, and you want to use Pro Stitcher, you can use the mark feature. So I'm going to my, okay, what does this mean? Whatever. I'm going to go to my Pro Stitcher settings, and I will mark these next 2 rows and have Pro Stitcher do it for us. And this, you could do this to stitch your ditch, and you can also do this to do your echoes. So since I'm using Pro Stitcher, I'm in cruise and I want to go up to 175, and then so I'm in my Pro Stitcher tab, record in the ribbon, and I have mark and record. So mark has a little diamond so I can hit my right handlebar. So I am here looking at our screen where I'm going to move down here. So anytime you hear a ding, it's because I'm hitting the mark button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my foot as that 1/4 inch placement. And I'm going to just start at the edge, put the edge of my foot on that seam, and hit mark. Now I'm going to slide up, edge of my foot, and I have this seam to line up with, so my laser light is on that center seam, and the edge of my foot is at the corner, and mark. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. Right on the seam, and mark. And move over and mark, over and mark, up, mark, over, mark, up, down, up, and down. So now when I come back to my Pro Stitcher and I hit my house, there's my my echoed lines. I can come back over to the beginning. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I'm putting my foot where I want it to the next line. Coming back up to the point, because I'm going to do my next row. Instead of actually hitting mark this time, I want to put a jump point where I am. So I'm going to hit jump. And you'll see it says add jump point, but it doesn't say anything else. So you're going to be like, oh, it didn't do anything. It did something. You saw it say add jump point. So I'm going to bring my machine to here, to my next point, and hit mark. And now look what the screen looks like. You can see the big long jump and my new mark point. So I'm going to finish marking this row. I have that point. Now we can look at our Pro Stitcher, and those are the points we just marked. I will turn on the light so you can see a little bit, and we can stitch this out. And I'm just going to stitch this out normally with Pro Stitcher. And now you can see, especially with this negative space block, I wonder if I can move that back a little bit more. you can see how we have our ditch stitches and our echo stitch. So I'm going to advance this and get to this row because I do want to show you that one last row, and then we'll call it quits. All right, so we've been up close and personal. Now you can see it kind of from a wide view what I'm going to do. I advanced and I have this strip, and this is my big negative space strip. It has only 2 blocks in it. So I need to come in, I need to pounce this block, and this block. So I'm going to have this one intersection where it's only the negative space blocks coming in to meet up. So I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm going to get my pieces and line them up where they need to go. And pounce. And pounce. Get my other side. Pounce. I need more light. Pounce. Now I will do my large blocks. That goes like that. And like yay here. The thing with the pounce that it can bounce itself off as you're stitching. So you have to be careful. I'm not going to pounce a project before I load it. Ooh, that was a lot of pounce dust. All right, so I've pounced and got all my blocks where they need to be. And then it's the same thing that we've been doing. I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to leave you here so you can kind of see me work it. Get my ruler. But I'm just going to start at the other side, stitch when I get here, black light. And I'll probably just leave the black light for that one, and then black light all the way across. Scissors. There they are. All right, so that is your assignment. It is to stitch the ditch and do your echo stitching across your whole quilt. When you get to the bottom, just trim your batting off, and you'll take it off the top leader. Trim the extra batting off. I just use my batting shears and come like maybe a ½ inch away from the edge of my bottom seam, and then that way you can roll back and forth on the quilt now. So it's kind of like we're basting it. Basically, we're basting it with our ditch stitching. I love how these are looking. I love how we are creating and continuing that pattern in the negative space. I just think this quilt's gonna, it already looks very modern, but doing that is gonna give it kind of that modern flair. And if you happen to buy the Quiltable Dazzling Diamonds set, it is on sale. Remember, ASF 10 will get you 10% off. I'm going to use those to fill some of these diamonds. I think I'll use them to fill them all. They're somewhat more kind of traditionally because they're kind of feathery, but I think the juxtaposition between the super modern quilt, the background fills we're going to use, and then kind of a traditionally feather pattern. And I'm going to use all of them. I think it comes with 10. I might not use all 10, but I'm just going to kind of, how it's kind of scrappy. I'm going to use the scrappy diamonds. The other thing, I'm going to be using some of the background blocks from the background fill set. What was that set called? I think it was the December Club. Quiltable. The faux free motion blocks. I'm going to be using some of those blocks to, we'll set them in here and have Pro Stitcher do it, because I'm gonna free motion some, but I'm gonna have Pro Stitcher do some, just so I can show you kind of the both ways to do it. If you are using Pro Stitcher and using mark, you can do all this that I just did using mark as well. Instead of doing the 1/4 inch, you're just gonna mark at your corners and just mark at those intersections and do the same exact thing. So very easy, or very doable either way, however you want to do it. But go through this. As always, if you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. You can drop a question in the comments below. You can email me, adamsofun@gmail.com with an SEW. You can message me on Facebook or Instagram, adamsofun. Or I guess those are the ways. That's a lot of ways. So happy stitching. Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell, baby. And we'll see you next week so we can get this finished. I'm not going to do the binding. That'll happen in 2024. But we'll see you all next week. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Merry Christmas. And we'll see you before New Year. Bye.